Hello, hockey fans. My name is David. Thought I would start this message shortly before 7 on the morning of Saturday, 15th October, North American Eastern Time. Thought I would do is kind of recap the week that was, a little bit about how my hometown Leafs in the NHL haven't yet managed to hold, haven't managed to since the second game of the spring Bolts Leafs playoff series, built up a lead of two or more goals, excluding preseason games. Sure, when it comes to impressive preseasons, the Jets were. And back on Friday, I watched that game. Very impressive against a New York Rangers squad that last season took the Lightning to 6 games in an Eastern Conference final. Very impressive. Of course, no, it was not against Igor Shesterkin, but rather Jaro Halak, who led at least one ugly goal. I find, given the inconsistency, it's amazing that the Rangers that Halak managed to find another job, even if only for one season. Of course, given that he's well into his 30s at this point, we shall see what happens, what record he gets. The Rangers have 2 wins and 1 regulation loss after 3 regular season games. Jets won their season opener, period. It's pretty impressive at 4-1, even if it only was like a couple of empty netters or so, or a one empty netter and a late power play goal. But the Jets managed to, even with multiple days off, really went to town on the Rangers, or at least confidently won their season opener. That matters a great deal. I've also observed this week so far that at some point or another during at least one game, the Canucks, Oilers, Flames, and Jets have had leads of a minimum of 2 goals. When was the last time the Leafs had a lead of a minimum of 2 goals, excluding the preseason? Well, was it not game 2, but game 3 of a spring playoff series against the Lightning. That's right. Yes, preseason. Sure, there's no doubt that the preseason only means so much. The Leafs should have used that momentum going into Montreal against the local Habs squad, but that didn't happen. I mean, you've heard all the radio, lots of coverage on Toronto radio, Toronto sports radio. I mean, whether it's the Fan 590, the city's Sportsnet radio station, or TSN 1050, the TSN one, it's been, why on earth are the Leafs struggling out of the gate? Aren't they supposed to win the Stanley Cup this season, or at least get closer to a Stanley Cup than they have been for quite a long time? The talent's certainly there, but I'm just going to present a tweet from. Alright, so. Alright, sorry that. I'm just going to. Alright, let's go here. Alright, so. Alright. Let's see. Sorry about this. I'm just going to. Alright, so let me... Alright, just gonna go to... Let me see. Let's see where this particular tweet is. I'm very sorry. Alright, so... Alright, so... This tweet says it all. Again, it was, the Leafs haven't had a lead of more than a goal at a time, and came back from a deficit to win that second game. That was in danger of turning into a first. So this has to do with a video tweet from a Toronto, from the late afternoon show of Toronto radio station TSN Radio, TSN 1050. So there, it mentioned the Jets. And here we go. Not at all. Just facing facts here. Alright, so here we go. I'm not yet ready to... Here's another take. Here's another... Alright, so let's see here. You know, these are... So... Well. So again, it remains to be seen whether Dubas' decision to select winger Dennis Mulligan over winger Nick Robertson will end up being a good bet. So just going to see, something on Twitter here. So I'm going to just try to go through here. There it is here. So I'm just going to go... So let's go to... Alright, so... so that's going to do here about... concern about winger Dennis Mulligan. That it may not be consistent. It's a legitimate concern. The last time Mulligan was with the Leafs, before this one, was slightly before the COVID pandemic, and, well, he didn't do very well. This time, second go-around with the Leafs so far has resulted in a goal. But again, it remains to be seen if we can keep up the pace. Because, again, there have been changes. I predicted going into the regular season the Leafs would finish potentially as low as 5th in the Atlantic. I still believe in that prediction, given all the question marks around the roster. The goaltending, which is new, well, there are 2 new faces in terms of in the crease. In terms of the top 2 goalies, Matt Murray and Ilya Samsonov, neither of whom played a game within the Leafs organization, whether at the NHL level, at the AHL level for the Marlies, or down in the East Coast Hockey League, or ECHL, with the Newfoundland Growlers, before playing a preseason game earlier this particular season. And now both have played, and I'd say that Samsonov certainly under Samsonov, the Leafs end up winning, end up allowing fewer goals. Remains to be seen, of course. Samsonov did, after all, allow an ugly goal that would put his most recent former hockey team ahead, even if only by 1 goal. But again, that's been the theme. I mean, I was going to blame Samsonov for the loss in part because if the Leafs were going to lose that game and the closeness, that puck should have stopped, and that would have been a big problem. On the other hand, it's been a problem with the offense getting going early enough in games. And that is a problem for the Leafs. If they are going to win games, they have to start early. Ideally, score blow the goals, like the Canucks did. 2 goals in the first 3 minutes would be absolutely fantastic. The Leafs should aspire to do that, but to keep it up, because blowing leads is no good either. Leafs have blown too many of them during the regular season. Senators have yet to take a lead of at least 2 goals. They lost 4-1 to the Buffalo Sabres earlier this week. The Habs, through 2 games played, haven't taken a lead of more than a goal at a time either, losing on Friday 3-0 to the Red Wings at Little Caesars Arena. So the Habs, certainly are a very flawed team. We'll have to see what happens in the Atlantic Division, whether any of the Canadian Eastern Conference teams will qualify for playoff spots. But again, it's going to be a very interesting season. A lot of games. If it's a game that involves a Canadian team, a Canadian NHL team, I'm going to try to watch it. I hope the Leafs can up their game more than they did against the Capitals, and get a little bit of a reboot against the Senators at home. That'll matter, because again, Leafs have little choice. If the Leafs are going to get anywhere near a playoff spot, they have to win consecutive games, and do so in bunches at a time, and not just win 1 here, 1 there. Last season, the Habs didn't win consecutive games until February. We all know how their season turned out. A disaster. Finished dead last in the NHL. The Habs may have had the fewest win streaks of any team in the NHL, just 3. But even if the Habs didn't, they still finished well out. The Leafs are in danger of doing that if they don't win consecutive games at any point this season. My God, they've got to do better against the Senators. The Senators are have shown themselves to be a rather weak team. They did against the Sabres. Well, let's see what happens. Because there are different theories as to whether the Senators will get into a playoff spot or not. I don't know. But what matters is Leafs do get into a playoff spot, and they win at least 1 playoff series. But there's a danger that the Leafs won't even get into a playoff spot. Certainly, I'm not sold on GM Dubas or President Shanahan, but let's see what happens. Because unless Leafs win at least 1 playoff series, those 2 bozos should be fired. Anyway, go Leafs go.